Good afternoon. Sarah, you might want to relay. Oh, there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to permanently relabel myself. I've tried a couple of times. Just get myself organized here. Who do we have? We're all here. Ravonda, when you're ready, you can call us to order.
Yes. It is now 12:03 p.m., August 9th, 2022, and I will call the meeting into order.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Well, our first order of business is to approve the minutes from our two meetings in July.
I'll make a motion.
I will second that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's great. I will post the minutes to the website. We're working through, we started a new, after we approved at our July meeting, new rules of order. This is a section called the admin's report. There's a couple of things that you will see on our financial report. We had a bounced loan payment from Galvin that I was told was just a clerical issue. So that's one thing to notice on when we were looking at our financial statements coming up. I guess I don't, I'm not totally sure how to take advantage of this section. I don't have any other large updates to offer. Unless Chris, did you have a vision for how this section would be used?
Just your opportunity to speak to the board about, ongoing operations.
That's right. The other thing to note is that we have just last week got an email from the ABO that they send out 90-day warnings for various due dates, and so in a little less than 90 days we will submit our budget for the forthcoming year to the ABO. So that's something that we will need to work on at the next two meetings. And we, oh yes, in our last meeting, we did pass some housekeeping resolutions, but we did not nominate our board members to serve on the audit committees and the governance committees, subcommittees within the board. So that's something that we should address in the resolutions and motions section of the meeting. That's all I have for today. And we can move on to the financial report. I'm going to share my screen. So you can see that our funds did come in from enterprise. This agency funds unrestricted is a vestige of previous bookkeeping that I'm not sure how to resolve, but we don't have a separate accounting system that way, but though I may take advantage of the way that this is organized when we do separate out the housing trust fund monies into their segregated account. So we're still awaiting an updated payment from Galvin Housing Resources. That's the balance sheet. And this is our bank reconciliation report. Most of these checks have cleared in the beginning of August. Here's my invoice, which is our only bill for this month. Any questions? If not, I could have a motion to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion to pay.
I'll second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we'll move forward. Okay, resolutions and motions. This is where there's two things. Chris had sent over a resolution about video conferencing that we can discuss. Maybe we'll do that first.
Yep. Chris, can I jump in there just with a question ahead of time? This almost looks to be verbatim what we have for the IDA. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I literally had the docs side by side and I'm going through for wording purposes and whatnot, and I think, I feel like there was a third municipal body that adopted what we did for the IDA as well. So I think it's uniform across the city, which is great.
I don't know about the common council. They might have done something slightly different.
It is a little bit different, but there was a different board that I recall seeing it. And there was something I read in notes about, we modeled it after the IDA's one. So I'm just glad that this is at least in line with what we already approved. So,
Okay. So you'll need to hold a public hearing on this.
Yep.
So because you're an independent
body.
public entity, so you'll have to adopt your own. So you'll need to set a public hearing for this.
Yep.
That'll be my first public hearing. What's the process?
I can help you with it. We need to post it. There's a certain amount of time. I feel like it's a week in advance. We hold the meeting. We read through everything. Actually, Ravonda will read through everything that is on a prepared statement, as well as all of the language in this. We open the floor. You're legally required to keep the floor open for 5 minutes. And if there is no feedback from the public on it, you can close the public hearing. And it's essentially just that. It's the opportunity for anybody to challenge or ask questions about why we would put this into our governing laws and policies.
And I would also refer you to the, Sarah, I will send you a sort of a cheat sheet, if you will, for the minutes for running the public hearing, so that you can use that as a process document. But there is the procedures that were adopted also outline the procedures for a public hearing. And if you go back and look at that, it specifies, explains to the public, this is what we ordinarily do. This is how we run a public hearing. So we'll refer to that document as well. That provides information for the public about how a public hearing is run. But it's the same process that, I think most of the boards would be following.
That's correct. Yeah. And Chris's cheat sheet is very good. Thank you for that again, Chris.
Thanks. Okay, yes, I look forward to that. And so this would be something we would have the public hearing as part of our next regularly scheduled meeting.
I would suggest that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds great.
Chris, what's the current extension from the governor?
It's only until August 14th, I want to say.
Okay.
Like that. So it's coming up. It's coming up.
So what is this video conferencing policy?
So let me outline this for you. So the current procedure that we're following is pursuant to an executive order of the governor. And that provides much more flexibility. It allows you to do this Zoom call structure. And the Zoom call structure also allows you to be on by telephone. The legislature adopted video conferencing procedures that were intended to sort of extend beyond COVID, and to allow people to do a conference, but it has to be a video conference and everybody has to be visible on the video. You can no longer use telephone. And there are some restrictions about needing to have some live locations, at least one live location where people are assembled. So it's a little more restrictive. The intent I think, was to make accommodation for people who couldn't get to a meeting, but the idea is that in general, we're supposed to be back to meeting in person, and there's an accommodation for, certain situations where people need to be away. There has always been, and this is a little confusing, there has always been an ability to have a video meeting from a remote location if the public is allowed to attend at all, both or all of the locations where the meeting is being held, where members are attending, members of the board are attending, and notice is given of those in advance. So that's always been true. State agencies, for example, with people in Albany and New York and Buffalo, will sometimes have a meeting where some of their members are in different locations using a video link, where everyone can see and hear one another simultaneously. So this sort of plays on that a little bit, but provides for some additional allowances for some participation by video, even if the public isn't allowed to attend under certain circumstances, such as illness or whatever. So there's a list of things that are in your video conferencing procedure. You're required to adopt a procedure for your own purposes. And so this is modeled on the state requirements and then some local, if you will, methodology for implementing that. So we can go to more specifics if you like, but it's the same process that we've adopted now for the IDA to use, but we haven't used it yet because for the time being, we've been using the governor's executive order. Okay.
That's clarifying.
So it will be new for everyone to follow the video conferencing rules. They are more restrictive, and we'll have to be very careful to comply with those when the time comes. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Now what I am looking for is the text of the resolution where we were going, the housekeeping resolutions to appoint members to the audit committee.
Sarah, before you go on to that, does the board want to set a public hearing?
Yes.
Because that will need to be done by approval of that resolution to set a hearing.
I'd like to make the motion that we set a hearing, and preferably, just looking at calendars, do we want to do something the week of the 22nd or the 29th so that it's done before our next meeting, just so that it's in place whether or not the governor extends beyond the 14th or not?
So you want to schedule a special meeting at that time then?
Yeah, well, the at least for the public hearing piece.
Well, but then would you be considering adoption at that time?
We'd consider the adoption then at our next meeting.
Okay. So do you want to just do the public hearing?
Yeah, just the public hearing.
Okay.
Do I need a second on that, Chris?
Oh, yes.
May I have a second, please?
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And that, again, Ryan, could you say again the date and the time?
Yeah, if it works. So Sarah, let me know what works for you that week of the 22nd. I mean, first question is everybody available to be there? We will need a quorum. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. We will need a quorum of members that can just be available for that meeting. And it does need to be done in a public place. So Michael Hoffman's on this call. Is there any conflicts that we would be able to do something like midday or mid-afternoon at City Hall the week of the 22nd?
The only midday meeting is the 26th Historic Preservation Commission.
So Sarah, is there a day that week that would work well for you to be in person?
I'm actually taking that week off of.
Oh, that's okay. How about following week of the 29th?
No, I that from my other job, so I have some flexibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that week isn't good for me. That's election week. So
22nd,
that day,
Ravonda, or 29th, Ravonda?
the following week would be fine. The week of the 22nd wouldn't work for me.
Okay. Does Tuesday the 30th work for everybody?
That's a good day for me. What
Okay.
time?
I look to Sarah.
Uh,
The-
I would say noon. I think Ravonda usually is available mostly at noon.
Is that good
That'd
for you,
be-
Ravonda?
That works.
Awesome. So Chris, can we go please with 30th at noon for the public hearing?
So you're modifying your motion and
Modifying
Mayor,
my motion, yes.
Mayor accepting the
Yes,
modification. All right.
I accept the no.
And Michael, can you just please make sure you pencil us in for use of the chamber?
Sure.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, do you want to call for a vote? On the motion? Or Sarah?
I see Ravonda just unmuted herself, but
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I was breaking up a little bit there. I
Oh.
heard Chris say Ravonda. I'm sorry.
Well, just to ask for a motion on the vote. I mean, a vote on the motion. Just a
Can I
vote.
ask for a
You gotta call
vote
for
on
the
the
roll
motion?
Yes.
Yeah, all in favor, y'all?
Aye.
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 All right.
Any opposed? All right, great. We can move on. Okay, August 30th at noon. I'm still trying to find the correct document that had our, well, there's, I mean, I suppose
Bylaws, is that what you're looking for, Sarah?
in the bylaws that we
Mhm.
have where we can, okay, so the bylaws amended draft or the bylaws resolution, oh, committees. So yeah, there's 3 committees. I will, let me, let's see, all right. Three committees. We have the governance committee, the audit committee, the finance committee. The governance committee conducts an annual review of the mission statement, coordinates our performance reviews, reviews all of our policies and procedures, and then the chair of the governance committee is our board's ethics officer. The audit committee, annually approves the selection of our auditor, works with me on the Paris report filings, and reviews the audit that we get back from our auditor. And then, so the finance committee develop and annually review the agency's investment policy. We don't really have any investments, but we do have an investment policy. Some of this is just kind of annual housekeeping that makes sure that when there's a new board, that the new board's hands touches these critical policies, even if they're not relevant to how we're operating right now. Reviews the annual budget, monthly financial reports provided by their treasurer, and that's right. Yeah, any other proposed financing transactions and acquisition or dispossession of property. In the past, the way that we've done this is we've just said that every member of the board is a member of each of these committees. But we do have to appoint ourselves, or the board needs to appoint members to serve on these committees. And then the committees need to formally act to, approve the budget, approve the engagement with the auditor, et cetera.
They should recommend, engage the auditor, but otherwise they're recommending, generally speaking, actions of the board.
Right. So what's the best way to do this? How many members need to be on each committee? Let's see.
Ideally 3.
For each. Sorry, Chris.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because this very much mirrors again how the IDA is set up, Sarah. So you want 3 for the voting capability.
Right.
And it's really from ABO.
Correct.
Just briefly, there was a place I thought in these where we had listed each member of the, or we had the option to fill the roster for each committee, but I'm not seeing it. So I suppose I'll just take notes, but, and I think, yeah, we'll have to distribute the responsibility across the board, but this shouldn't be like a, add many more hours to your workload in terms of service to the board. So
My question is that being the treasurer, am I already automatically on the finance committee?
No,
Right.
but it would be good.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
the only committee that you can't serve on would be the audit committee.
correct.
Correct.
I mean, I'm always one for governance, so I'm happy to sign up
Yeah,
for that
I was
one.
gonna say I'll also sign up for governance.
Dominic, come be our governance twins again.
Sure. Sorry, it's chopping in and out, so I apologize.
That's
Sure.
okay. So there, you'd have your 3 for governance, Sarah.
so we got a proposed roster, Ryan, Kamal, and Dominic for the governance committee.
We're used to rolling in that framework.
Thinking about finance, Teresa's saying that she's interested in serving on the finance committee.
I'm happy to join Teresa there if you need somebody.
Ryan. Anyone else?
We need one more.
Just one more.
I'll tag on there.
Okay.
Rhonda. And the audit committee.
Who's left?
Everyone's on there.
Uh,
I mean, I'll go 3 for 3. Why not? Come on, Kamal. Please.
I'll join on.
Yes.
Governance through gentle nudging on Zoom.
Well, this is the challenge with us to be such a small board,
Mhm.
Really will be duplicating.
It is.
So these committees cannot get people from the outside to serve?
So you need to have board members who are taking these roles. You can seek advice from external
Advisory.
folks, right? Advisory folks, but you want the board members to be making these decisions. So I guess someone other than Kamal, someone other than Teresa for the third audit committee member.
It would be either Dominic or Rhonda.
Dominic, who? Rwanda.
I guess I'll save Dominic from this one.
My question is, do the committees meet separately, organize their separate meetings? They need to
You
meet.
certainly can, but it needs to be a public meeting, so they will need to probably organize that through your office to set up a Zoom or meet in person, either one, but with public notice, just as you do with the board meeting. So
The other way though, Chris, we can run it like the IDA, right? Where we can suspend the regular meeting and go into governance committee meeting and have the meetings all as part of this one larger meeting.
you can. That sometimes works. You just need to make sure that you're, holding your meetings as a meeting of the committee.
Right.
That sounds like it would also stretch out our
It's not too bad. I mean, we get through when we have to do it for the IDA. I think the longest that we run is about an hour and 15 minutes.
You don't also necessarily need to have each committee meet, of
That's
course.
correct.
It's so in audit season, for example, when you're in your selection of auditor mode, then, towards the end of the year is usually when you're going to select your auditor. So, you'll have that meeting and then you'll have a meeting for the audit committee to review the audit. So, that committee isn't meeting very often during the course of the year.
And it means when I create these Paris filings, I will email them, we can.
Correct. And the finance committee presumably would be involved in reviewing your draft budget in the fall as well.
I mean, I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but they're giving a QuickBook class at Columbia Green. So I was hoping that maybe we can take it. I mean, Sarah, you've been very good in trying to explain it, but even you said yourself you wouldn't mind taking it. Do we get permission from the board to do that?
Well, you might be seeking for the HCDPA to cover the cost of the QuickBooks training.
It's $130. How do we submit that request?
I think it would be to request authorization from the board then for that expenditure.
In writing, right?
Well, the reimbursement would be in writing, but the board could adopt a motion to authorize that as a permitted cost, and I mean, authorize a budgetary, allocation for that, because you'll have to make sure before you incur expenditures. Obviously, every time you incur expenditures, you want to make sure you have a budgetary line for that, or at least an available amount in your budget for that.
It starts in September, but it's several months. So I should bring it to the board maybe next month.
Teresa, could you share that with me if you wouldn't mind, that
Yeah, I
information?
will. Matter of fact, if you text me your telephone number, I'll send it to you.
Okay, you have my number, but I'm gonna send you a text and say, hey.
Okay. It's gonna be given on 2 Thursdays. It starts when? Oh, it doesn't start until October the 4th, 2 Tuesdays and 2 Thursdays, and then November the 8th, 2 Tuesdays and 2 Thursdays. So we have time to bring it to the board next month, Chris, or how?
That's fine if that's timely to sign up for the class. And then Sarah, you can take that into account in looking at your budget, right?
As a matter of fact, if I'll call today to find out, I've been calling every day, nobody's been answering, but I'm sure somebody will get back to me at Columbia Green.
Great. Yeah, I guess we can discuss it at the next meeting.
Or even at the special meeting, if I have all the information.
At the special meeting on August 30th at noon. Sure. We can add that to the agenda.
Do you want to move back to the committees and have a formal motion and vote to approve that roster that was proposed?
Yes. So shall I read back the roster?
And you need a motion in a second for each, correct, Chris?
Or
Chris?
can we do all at once, Chris?
Yeah, do you need?
I think if you chose to move the roster that's proposed, you could certainly do that.
There you go.
So for the governance committee, we have Secretary Wallace, Vice Chair Johnson, and Member Moranti. For the audit committee, Secretary Wallace, Vice Chair Johnson, and Chair Smith. And for the finance committee, Treasurer Joyner, Secretary Wallace, and Chair Smith. Does someone want to move?
I'll make a motion to accept the roster.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thanks for taking care of that. Okay, so that I think would close out the resolutions and motions section of the meeting. And we can move on to old business. And the first matter is I've decided to go ahead and condense the line items for Michelle's presentations for the ADLN and the Housing Trust Fund. So Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll be a lot quicker than last month. So real quick, just ongoing activities under the ADLN grant that we're still continuing. So Hudson Roots is still ongoing. I don't have the updated report yet for the month, but I can give that in September. We're still working on our engagement, which we're wrapping up. So I can also give you a summary of what we've learned and heard from the public. for in September. And also you'll see an invoice in September from me because I've been paying for the survey platform. So you can expect that'll be called Typeform. So it'll just be invoice I'll be sending in September once we finish up the engagement. We are still working on our, we still have, so Lazy Studio is our graphic designer. So she's helped us set up work for the Housing Trust Fund and the survey, but she's also helping me develop different graphics to kind of explain some more complicated housing concepts that we'll be able to roll out into the fall. And so after her contract is up, we'll have like a library of educational materials to use. And then the other ongoing activity under ADLN is the BFJ consulting firm who y'all approved last month. So I've had my kickoff meeting with them, and their first step right now, they're doing some interviews and gathering data to work on our inclusionary zoning policy options. So that's ADLN updates. Regarding the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee, so we've been meeting, it's been the first Monday of the month, but unfortunately it's also often a holiday day, so it has been changing a little bit. For future, we're just kind of getting a rhythm together, but I'll send Sarah the minutes from those meetings to include with, since we're meeting the week before you all meet, I can send her those minutes to include when she sends you the monthly meeting package. So if you're interested in reading over what we discussed, you can read all of that. Something that's just, I have a question for you all is wondering, and I guess maybe, I don't know, Sarah or Chris, in terms of budget approval, it's a little odd because we kind of need to finish out the 2022 budget. And then we also need to approve a budget for 2023. So the committee was discussing the 2022 budget at our last meeting, and we're working through that draft. The goal being to present it to you to look over for the September meeting. But in terms of the 2023 budget, when is there like a rule or a timeline of when I should be getting that to you all?
Yep, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Sarah just indicated that her deadline is, and you're going to help me, Sarah, because I don't have it off the top of my head for you. Is it 60 days before the end of the year?
It's 90 days.
It's 90 days.
I'm going to pull it up.
That and that's a date when this board has to have finished their work, whatever that deadline is. They have to submit to Paris. So that means whatever recommendations are coming will have to be ahead of that. Right.
So basically, like you've got the next 30 days so that we would have roughly 2 weeks to try to workshop to be able to meet that 90-day deadline for all of Q4. I know it's going to be fast and furious.
I do think that so when I remembered the budget process for last year, it's not that detailed. It's sort of, it's like the Housing Trust Fund would be its own
line item.
You wouldn't have to, so you would just need to decide how much money you're going to spend this year and about how much money you're going to intend to spend next year.
Okay.
Not on what projects and.
Okay. So
Michelle, do you have our spreadsheet from last year that shows like the sub breakouts of everything in there?
I don't think I would have sent that to you, but I'll do it today.
Okay, and if you need help, I've got a version of and like the QuickBooks training they're going to do, like I've done that stuff before. So if you need an off time, I can come in and help you get it into the format that Sarah will be able to plug and play it with. Okay,
cool. Thanks for the offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll talk to you about that. I don't think it'll be that hard to give the kind of like an overview of where the money is going, but then I think it'd be useful to give us some more time to then present to the board kind of more specifically, the purpose of the grant funds for 2023 a little bit later in the year. Right. But we'll be able to, do the overview so y'all can meet your Paris obligations. So so that's also something you expect to see from us in the beginning of September. So we can send that after our first board meeting, and you'll have time to look it over before your board meeting. And that's all I have.
Okay. due within 90 days of the end of the authority's fiscal year. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at the deadline. Okay, thanks, Michelle. The next order of business or matter is updates from the Housing Authority. So we can pass the mic to Chair Smith and Jeffrey Dodson.
Hi, everyone. HHA, only update that we have is everything has been moving so smooth having Jeff on board full time. I just want to thank him so much for that. He has been knocking down walls and keeping me very busy. But other than that, Jeff, do you have anything you would like to add? Pretty set.
Good afternoon, everybody. I don't have anything to add, but I wanted to say thanks for having me here today. And I will be attending meetings regularly. And feel free to reach out to me if you would like to talk. We can share resources and things of that nature. Thanks so much.
Welcome. Glad that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jeff. Okay, the next order of business is the HCDPA property disposition discussion.
So does the board want to go into attorney-client to ask questions of me, or does the board want to go into executive session to discuss the disposition terms?
I mean, one and the same. I think, can we just jump to executive really quick?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Make a motion?
I would make that motion to go into executive session and discuss the terms.
I'll second.
Chris, should I recuse myself again or?
Yeah, probably, Ravonda, that makes the most sense.